The Cathedral of Transfiguration in Odessa is the primary Orthodox cathedral of Odessa, Ukraine, devoted to the Transfiguration of Jesus and is a part of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. It sustained significant damage due to a Russian missile strike on Odessa on July 23, 2023. The cathedral, being the initial and the most important church in Odessa, was established in 1794 by Gavril Banulescu Bodoni. The construction experienced numerous delays, and to facilitate its completion, Armand Emmanuel de Vignerot du Plessis, the recently assigned governor of New Russia, or Novorussia, employed the services of the Italian architect Francesco Frappoli. In 1808, the cathedral was recognized as the principal church of New Russia. Its expansion continued throughout the 19th century. The bell tower was constructed between 1825 and 1837. And a few years later, the refectory connecting it to the main church was added. The interior was adorned with polychrome marble, and the icon screen was also crafted from marble. A number of churches in the vicinity, such as the Nativity Cathedral in Chisinau, Moldova, were consciously modeled after the Odessa church. The cathedral became the final resting place for the bishops of Taurid, including Saint Innocent of Kherson and Prince Mikhail Semyonovich Vorontsov, governor of New Russia. The Soviets demolished the original structure in 1936. Its reconstruction began in 1999, and the newly built cathedral was sanctified in 2003. The remains of Prince Vorontsov and his spouse were reinterred in the cathedral. A statue of him graces the cathedral square. An electronic apparatus capable of playing 99 melodies controls the cathedral bells. On July 23, 2023, the cathedral sustained damage from a Russian missile strike. UNESCO firmly condemned the repeated Russian attacks on World Heritage sites in Ukraine, inclusive of the Cathedral of Transfiguration. As a side note, New Russia, or Novorossia, is a historical term referring to a region north of the Black Sea, which was incorporated into the Russian Empire during the 18th and 19th centuries. The name New Russia came from the colonial ambitions of the Russian Empire in this area, similar to how the British Empire established colonies in New England or New South Wales. The region generally includes parts of present-day Ukraine, including areas such as Odessa, Nikolaev, and Kherson. This area was sparsely populated until the Russian Empire conquered it from the Ottoman Empire and encouraged settlers to move there, including Russians, Ukrainians, and Germans, among others. The region became known for its agricultural productivity, particularly in the cultivation of wheat and sunflowers. It is important to note that in modern usage, the term has been revived and politicized, particularly in the context of the conflict between Ukraine and Russia that began in 2014. Pro-Russian separatists in eastern Ukraine have used the term Novorossia to refer to the territories they aim to separate from Ukraine. The Ukrainian Orthodox Church, or UOC, frequently known by the external term Ukrainian Orthodox Church of the Moscow Patriarchate, is a brand of the Eastern Orthodox faith in Ukraine. The official establishment of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church occurred in 1990, succeeding the Ukrainian Exarchate of the Russian Orthodox Church. This formation took place under the guidance of Metropolitan Filaret and was intended to be the Ukrainian branch of the Russian Orthodox Church. The Ukrainian Orthodox Church of the Moscow Patriarchate coexists as one of the two major Eastern Orthodox religious entities in contemporary Ukraine, the other being the Orthodox Church of Ukraine. Following the Unification Council on 15th of December 2018 that resulted in the creation of the OCU, the Ecumenical Patriarchate of Constantinople has disputed the claims of the Moscow Patriarchate concerning its ecclesiastical authority over Ukrainian territory. As of 27 May 2022, after a formal church council convened at the Theophania convent in Kyiv, the Ukrainian Orthodox Church announced its complete independence and autonomy from the Moscow Patriarchate. The Russian Orthodox Church, however, currently doesn't acknowledge this change in their relationship to the UOC. The ROC, Hierarch Metropolitan Leonid Gorbachev of Klin, expressed disapproval of the UOC's decision to break away from the Moscow Patriarchate, stating, "When the opportunity presented itself to get out from under the wing of Moscow, they did it," and declared that the ROC would integrate or absorb the Ukrainian Orthodox Church in the occupied regions of Ukraine. The Transfiguration of Jesus is an event chronicled in the New Testament, during which Jesus transforms and becomes luminous in glory on a mountain. The moment is recorded in the Synoptic Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke. In these Gospel narratives, Jesus, accompanied by his apostles Peter, James, and John, ascend a mountain, later identified as the Mount of Transfiguration, to pray. Upon the summit, Jesus begins to radiate with brilliant beams of light. Subsequently, Old Testament figures Moses and Elijah emerge next to him and converse with him. Both of these figures bear eschatological significance. They symbolize the law and the prophets, respectively. A voice from God, the Father, then refers to Jesus as the Son, echoing the baptism of Jesus. Various Christian traditions encompassing the Eastern Orthodox Catholic Church, Lutheran and Anglican churches celebrate the event through the Feast of the Transfiguration, a major festival. Within Greek Orthodoxy, the event is termed the Metamorphosis. The Transfiguration ranks as one of Jesus' miracles in the Gospels. The miracle distinguishes itself from others depicted in the canonical Gospels, as the miracle is experienced by Jesus himself. Thomas Aquinas regarded the Transfiguration as the greatest miracle, considering that it supplemented baptism and exemplified the perfection of heavenly life. The Transfiguration is one of the 5 crucial milestones in the Gospel chronicles of Jesus' life, the others being baptism, crucifixion, resurrection, and ascension. In 2002, Pope John Paul II introduced the luminous mysteries in the Rosary, including the Transfiguration. According to Christian doctrines, the Transfiguration serves as a critical juncture, and the mountain setting is depicted as the location where human nature meets God, the intersection of the temporal and the eternal, with Jesus serving as the connecting entity, acting as the conduit between heaven and earth. Furthermore, Christians regard the Transfiguration as fulfilling an Old Testament messianic prophecy that Elijah would return following the Ascension. The Synoptic Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke plays the account of the Transfiguration approximately in the middle of the narrative. It constitutes a pivotal episode and almost directly follows another key element, Peter's confession, "You are the Christ," from the book of Matthew, chapter 16, verse 16. The Transfiguration narrative serves as an additional revelation of Jesus' identity as the Son of God to some of his disciples. In the Gospels, Jesus brings Peter, James, son of Zebedee, and John the Apostle with him to a mountain which remains unnamed. Once atop the mountain, the book of Matthew chapter 17 verse 2 states that Jesus was transfigured before them, his face shining as the sun, and his garments became white as the light. At this moment, the prophet Elijah, representing the prophets, and Moses, symbolizing the law, appear, and Jesus begins to converse with them. Luke states that they discussed Jesus' exodus, which he was set to achieve in Jerusalem. Luke specifically describes Jesus in a state of glory, with Luke saying they saw his glory. As Elijah and Moses begin to leave the scene, Peter starts to ask Jesus if the disciples should construct 3 tents for him and the 2 prophets. This has been interpreted as Peter's attempt to keep the prophets there longer. But before Peter can finish, a bright cloud emerges and a voice from the cloud states, "This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased. Listen to him." From the book of Mark, chapter 9, verse 7. The disciples then fall to the ground in fear, but Jesus approaches and touches them, instructing them not to fear. When the disciples raise their eyes, they no longer see Elijah or Moses. As Jesus and the 3 apostles descend the mountain, Jesus instructs them not to disclose the things they had seen until the Son of Man has risen from the dead. The apostles are described as discussing among themselves what Jesus meant by risen from the dead. In addition to the main account given in the Synoptic Gospels, The Apostle Peter identifies himself as an eyewitness of his magnificence. Elsewhere in the New Testament, Paul the Apostle's reference in Corinthians chapter 3 verse 18 to the transformation of believers through beholding as in a mirror the glory of the Lord became the theological basis for considering the Transfiguration as the catalyst for processes that lead the faithful to the knowledge of God.